What's up, everybody? This is JonFawkes here,
And BeatBlox as well.
and welcome to the booth. This is technically episode 0. We'll be doing an episode 1 in the upcoming or in the near future.
Yes, this is just a test.
Right. You want to explain what we're doing?
Basically, we're just the main attraction, I guess, to our podcast here is we're gonna take amateur voice actors and interview them, asking various questions about what made them decide to be an amateur voice actor and things along those lines, and then also maybe some just random talk too in between.
Yeah. When I list our podcast on iTunes, I didn't actually put amateurs. Like, it's not limited to amateurs. Hopefully, if we get big enough, we'll get some professionals on here.
Yeah, that'd be pretty crazy.
Yeah. And also, like, amateur isn't limited to only new people. I think we'll be interviewing like a span of people across the amateur voice acting community.
Hmm.
Like, people who've done this for a long time and people who are just starting out. Hopefully we'll give everybody a good chance to get exposed. And yeah.
Yeah, so keep a lookout.
All right. So before we go into any real serious talk, Wes, guess what?
What?
I had pho for dinner.
Good stuff.
Yes, for our listeners who don't know what that is, it is a Vietnamese dish consisting of like rice noodles and a broth that takes like 16 hours to prepare.
It does, because you have to wait, isn't there some special type of bone you have to put in the broth or
Yeah,
something?
yeah. I don't know what it is, but it just takes a really long time.
It does, but it's so worth it in the end.
Yeah.
It's so good. As you
Um,
couldn't tell, I love ramen.
yes, and I think that's a good segue to begin this podcast. Which so for this episode 0, we don't really have a guest, but I think it'd be a good chance for you to get to know your hosts. So obviously the first thing we know about Wes here is that he loves ramen and
Yes.
noodles and stuff like that.
Yes, because they are delicious.
All right. Uh, let's see. I guess we'll get right into this. So, Wes, how did you get into voice acting?
Well, throughout the years growing up in high school, I used to do these wacky voices, whether impersonating a cartoon or impersonating a teacher or anything related to that. My friends oh, you should be go into voice work or something. You'd be really good at it. And then at first I thought they were kidding. So as the years continued, they were serious. So I decided to try it out. And I think I have a knack for it. I mean, there's still things I need to work on, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, considering you've reached 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is part of the reason why we're doing this, is to commemorate BeatBlox's 1,000 subscribers.
Yes. So my thanks to everyone who has been supporting my channel.
Um, as for me, voice acting kind of came to me on a whim. I kind of like one summer I was just like, I feel like doing this, and so I did.
So you just did it because you felt like it.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I mean, my whole life, like, I'd gone through being many careers. Like, I wanted to be a paleontologist at one point, and a computer programmer. And for like my whole high school career, I was like, studying to be an artist. But
Mhm.
then one summer, I was like, let's try this just because it looks like fun. And now, like, what, 2 years later, I'm boasting 500 subscribers and a good amount of work.
Yes.
Um, I guess since you're the other host, you want to ask the next question?
Sure. You've already said how long you've been doing this, so we should.
Oh yeah.
What was the latest role you played?
Ooh. I played Yuri Lowell for that the ACS project.
Oh yes, yes, very nice.
And you.
And yeah, last thing I did, I voiced Flynn for the same ACS project.
Yeah. But let's see. Outside of that, I think What were some of the other roles? I haven't really done a lot recently, just because I've been so busy. Uh, one of the few things I recorded for was the Knuckles thing for Josh. That's Heavy Metal Gagne for listeners who don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Latest thing I did was the Tales of Zillia
oh
cameo
yeah,
costume demo, and I
that that
voiced
that
Jude.
was pretty excellent, I thought.
Thanks. I mean,
Yeah.
like, that game looks so amazing. I just
It,
have to dub it.
yeah, that's man, that game's gonna be huge, I think.
It's gonna be. I already pre-ordered too.
I think we can go into maybe what's some of your favorite games just to get the conversation
Yeah.
keep going. Keep going.
I am like, I'm a huge Tales fan. Like, it's crazy. I even go to the, I even go to lengths to import stuff because they never make it over to the US.
Yeah. If I figure out how to get like enhanced podcast working, or maybe like even for the video you're gonna put up, maybe like if you have a picture of your import collection, I think that'd be a good like you
I
know
actually do. It's on Facebook.
yeah I think like for the video just to make it a little more interesting and to make what we're talking about a little more relevant, you can like put that picture up.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And I too am a huge fan of the Tales game. Though I don't think I can really call myself a fan because I only own a few of the games. And I am not like Wes where I import stuff. Though I really wish I could.
I mean, it's so expensive to import. I mean, you have to have like a job or something
Yeah,
to get that money back.
yeah. When I was doing when I first started getting into anime, um, I wasn't really into like the American. No, that's really bad to say. I wasn't really into like Pokemon or whatever. My first anime was actually that I tried to import was actually Sonic X.
Oh
Like
yeah.
back when it very first came out and long before 4Kids got it.
Oh God.
Um,
Oh no.
and I actually I was a huge fan of Sonic the Hedgehog and I still am. Uh,
I am too.
yeah. And that was actually a DVD that I imported.
Nice.
Uh,
Yeah, actually, my first import was Tales of Vesperia PS3 because like we were talking about it for a while now, and everyone was in the fan base was talking about it, and it's like, you know what? I'm gonna go pick this up. $90, pfft, that's nothing.
totally
Just
worth
kidding.
it.
Just kidding. It is a lot, but it was worth it in the end.
Yeah, there's so much extra content for the PS3 version of Vesperia.
Yeah, like Flynn and Patty and more side quests and
Yeah.
more explained story, even though it's in Japanese.
Yeah. Uh, I guess if you play the English version, you get enough of it.
Yeah, you do. I mean, the plot's the same, so there's not too much different except for some points with Flynn and Patty. But besides that, you can get by the game.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you know the art system and everything, it's easy enough.
Yeah, or you can do like what I do and just like go through the skill system and just like equip everything and hope you like it works.
Or you can take the long route and learn Japanese.
Yeah, but that requires effort.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually learning Japanese. I think Wes, you and I are both gonna take a class in the upcoming fall semester.
Yes, we are. But like not the same class,
No,
unfortunately.
no,
That would be
unfortunately.
awesome though.
Wes is in where do you live?
I live in Connecticut.
For all the fangirls in Connecticut who are listening.
Don't stalk me.
Just kidding. Just kidding. Wes has a girlfriend.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and I'm in California, so we're like
And
practically
you also have a girlfriend.
yes.
So we're both taken.
I'm sorry, fangirls.
Don't hate us.
Yeah, we're practically like across the country from each other.
It's pretty insane.
Yeah. Um, hopefully we'll meet up sometime.
Yeah,
Uh,
hopefully, like next year, I'm hopefully planning to come down there and like visit everyone.
yeah, that'd be cool. Maybe we, if we manage to keep this podcast going, we can do like a live version.
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe even take a new picture for our podcast because right now it's just a picture of a microphone that says, with the captions, "The Booth," hosted by Jon and Wes, I think. But
I can imagine for one of the live podcasts, just me eating noodles and nothing else.
We could be like, "What's up, everybody? This is Jon and Wes.
Then I'll be like,
Welcome to the booth here live at the ramen bar." I don't know where we are.
what happens if your folks make like pho or something?
I'll invite you over if you happen to be in town.
Yes.
My folks love to cook like really excellent food whenever my friends are over. Um, my friends love coming over. You can guess why. Um, dang it.
John.
Hello?
Oh, hi.
Sorry, my internet cut out.
It's okay.
Well, what was I saying?
Something about how your parents cook food for your friends.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and I'll maybe edit that down, by the way.
Might be a good idea.
But yeah, my parents love to cook exquisite food, whenever my friends come over, and they used to come over really often, and then they think that's how I eat all the time, and it's partially true actually.
Wish my parents were that cool.
I'm so spoiled. And then I go to my apartment, and I got I have Oreos.
No. Oh,
I guess.
that's an inside joke if people don't know.
Well, we could tell this story. I mean, like part of the podcast is that we can really talk organically
That's
about
true.
things.
You know the story better than anyone else, so
Yeah. So this wasn't actually my apartment. This was when I was staying in the school dorms. And one weekend, I think it might have been Easter weekend or something. I don't remember. I remember it being really rainy. That's irrelevant to the story.
yeah.
But I was left completely alone. My roommates had gone home for the weekend. And I think it was an extra long weekend because I remember spending the whole weekend like watching anime nonstop too.
Hey, that's a good time to spend your weekend.
Yeah, yeah. But I got bored and we were in a call, Wes and I and our group. Um, and I was like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna go stick this Oreo in the microwave."
And then we were all kind of iffy about it, and then
You guys think
it
it's
was
like a
just
joke, and then like 5 minutes later, you'll hear, "Oh my God!"
yes, the Oreos blew up in his microwave.
Yeah, it was terrible. I had to open the window and like get a fan so that it wouldn't set off the smoke alarm.
Oh, gee.
That is why you do not let me, near anything that can cook things. I'm a terrible cook.
Because apparently everything John touches catches fire, even if it's not supposed to catch fire, it does.
Well, for the Oreos thing, that was partially my fault.
For you not paying attention.
Oh, I paid attention, I purposely pressed 999 on the microwave.
Wait, you did?
No, I put it in for like 3 minutes.
That's still too much, though.
I realize that now. I maybe should have done it in 1 minute increments.
John, you should be on an episode of Mythbusters. Like, the question would be, are Oreos microwavable or something?
Oh man, Mythbusters.
It's a good show.
Yes, I'm a big fan of Mythbusters.
I watched occasionally, but John's a big fan.
Yes. All right, let's move on to the next question.
Sure.
What's your favorite role to play?
Ah, you had to go and say that. That's hard. That's really tough.
I think
Um,
not so much for me. I have it I have it kind of clearly defined in my head, I guess.
yeah.
My favorite role is Ikuto Tsukuyomi from Shugokara.
Oh
And,
yeah.
and I tell this to everybody. Like on my Forum Spring, I've been asked this a few times. Oh, and by the way, if you want to ask me questions, you can go to forumspring.com/JonFawkes. No, it's forumspring.me.
Yeah.
Whatever. Shameless plug. Um, my favorite character to voice is Ikuto because I spent a lot of time developing the voice. Like, well, I don't want to go into a long rant, but like, in short, like voice acting is voice and acting, and I put a lot of work into developing not only the voice I use for Ito, but like his tonal way to speak, I guess, is a okay way to explain it.
Yeah. I'd say if I had to pick one character, it'd probably be Lloyd from Tales of Symphonia, because, like you said, the whole acting and development of tone and character, like that whole experience building that up and improving with each dub.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like I did a lot of, like I do some like battle dubs, but there are some dubs where I actually do, the acting part, like one day I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try a really dramatic scene. So I tried the scene from the OVA when Colette loses her voice and Lloyd
Yes,
just
I was
freaks
just
out.
about to bring that up. I thought that was one of your best performances, like even over your like battle dubs and stuff.
Yeah. Well, like battle dubs are just like yelling. It's not really acting. I mean, it's good for like pronunciation and clarity, but
I think there is a little bit of acting because like you don't want to just yell because that's boring, and you don't want to do like the wrong kind of yelling.
oh yeah, that's right. Indoor yelling is the most common case.
Demon Fang.
Yeah, it has to fit the attack.
Yeah, but also like you're not like it's a very specific yelling, and I think it's actually really hard to capture that because it's not like you're angry yelling, and it's not like you're sad yelling. Um,
It's more like it's kind of like I can't really explain it either, man.
yeah, see, it's harder than it seems, and I think a lot of people don't really nail that, and then their dub just sounds really bad. Not that
I
I'm
think it's
not, just saying a disclaimer, not that I'm bashing on anybody's particular dub.
mhm.
But go ahead.
It's just like it's something you can't explain. It's something that just happens, and then you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, I think in acting, like, and I've been studying acting for 2 years now, um, at a university. Like, you gotta find like, with certain things like, sadness or happiness, it's easy because you experience those emotions, and especially if you're using like, emotional memory in method acting,
Hmm.
when you recall, a memory to make you feel a certain way.
Hmm.
Um, you can't do that with, mystic arts because when do you yell mystic arts in real life?
You don't.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and that's one of the big challenges of doing that and then getting it right.
I mean, like, I think experiencing life before considering being like an actor. That's what voice-over artists are. They're actors,
Yeah.
and it's still acting, but it's with your voice, and sometimes it's easier than the like stage acting, and sometimes it's not so easier.
Yeah.
But it's really, yeah, it's really personal preference.
Yeah, I think that's especially prominent in character voices because you're playing a character. I mean, there are in the voice over industry, a lot of it is just commercial. So you're doing things like the following is intended only for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. There's not really a character in that.
Right, yeah. I
But
mean, like, I went to a workshop with Edge Studio a few weeks back, and I recorded a few like short commercials, and I had to use a character voice in one of them. It was for like a children's space camp program, so I had to be all enthusiastic, like, "Hey kids, you want to go through some real-time space simulations? Then come on down to blah 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 blah." I forget the script, but I had to like be happy and be projective and things like that.
yeah, but it's not the same as playing a character because especially for like commercials, you're not acting in real life. But for a character, you do want to portray that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I guess I think that's another thing we should add to the podcast description is, like through our interviews, we're hoping to, give advice or receive advice, which I
Yes.
think leads to our next question is, do you have any advice for your fellow voice actors?
Um, I do. One important piece of advice. Voice act like I mentioned before, voice acting is still acting. I mean, you can't just use a voice that your friends tell you that they think is good and then just go for it. You have to studied the general basics of acting and, with emotion and things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I would agree. Voice acting is two components, the voice and the acting. And I think it's a very common misconception that just because you can do funny voices means you're a voice actor. That's not true. And also just because you're an actor doesn't mean you can be a voice actor. I know a lot of people who are actors,
Mhm.
who can't act in front of a microphone. It's just not their thing.
Yeah, you can either do one or the other, and some uncommon circumstances you can do both.
Yeah, like I'm a stage actor and a voice actor, because I trained myself for that.
Mhm.
Um, but voice acting really is its own skill, and you really gotta study and like develop that skill.
Because there is more to it than what common knowledge tells you. Like when Edge Studios gave me the guidebook to study before going to the workshop, it was over 100 pages long of just everything,
Yeah,
techniques, things you shouldn't do, etc., etc. It's intense.
yeah, and you're never gonna learn everything just by picking up a microphone and doing things. Although that's definitely a good way to start.
Yeah, it is.
You know, I think both of us can totally recommend just pick up a microphone and do it.
Right.
But if you're really invested in it and you really want to make it professionally,
Hmm.
you really had to put some work into your craft too.
I mean, like my very first thing I voiced in was a machinima, believe it or not. Like that's how I got my start, and then people started recognizing my voice and introducing me to some other machinimas, and then that quickly transitioned to original projects and then fan dubs.
Yeah. I think my first dub that I acknowledge as my first dub uh is a was that shuffle scene that I did by myself. That was long before I knew anyone. But I think that leads me to another point is that don't be afraid of failure because
Yes, because you know this brings us to critique. I mean, when you post a video up, don't expect perfect critique in every comment. There's always going to be that person that's going to put you down and just plain insult you, but just ignore those guys. They're not worth your time. Just focus on the ones um that try to help you in your performance, whether not enough enthusiasm or this line was too slurred or things like that.
yeah, like you want to pay attention to you do want to pay attention to those critiques. You want to you want to, I mean, obviously, well, like what Wes said, you want to ignore the people who are just plain bashing and don't actually have anything constructive to say, but
Hmm.
take critique to heart. Like for me, when I first jumped into this, I went on the VAA and I literally like auditioned for 100 things before I ever was able to get a role. Um,
Hmm.
but like throughout all those auditions, like a lot of the times I would get back critique. Um, and jumping right into it, it was kind of hard to handle at first, but you really do gotta like take it in and
Hmm.
figure out what works and what doesn't.
Right, and also go what works for you. Don't use a voice that you have to force out because then that doesn't sound natural. And
Yeah, and it limits you a lot.
right, so just start off with what suits you best. Like try your just regular talking voice at first. Like,
Yeah,
and then if you feel confident enough, then maybe try a lower tone or a higher tone or whatever.
yeah. Or like even if you don't have a lot of like quote unquote voices, that's fine. I think like part of it is the acting too, like we were saying earlier. And you can have just one voice, but you can be like, but that one voice can be amazing.
Yeah,
And it
exactly.
might be exactly what somebody needs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how in the professional world of voice acting, that's a common factor, the same people using that one voice that's very marketable and bam.
Yeah. Um, let's see. We didn't go through all our questions, but I think that's all right.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think let's see. Let's just go over what our podcast is about. Um, just for the viewers, and for any guests that we plan to take on the podcast.
Right.
So this is a it's a podcast focused on voice acting.
And we interview amateur or inspiring voice actors out there.
Yeah, and hopefully even professionals. And yeah, we do have a set of questions, but it is a very free podcast, and we do allow it to just, roam freely.
Yes, because that's fun.
Yeah, I think that makes it a lot more interesting. Hopefully you learned a little bit about us on this podcast, and we'll hopefully learn a lot about you and maybe even get a chance to work with some of you in the near future.
Yes, that'd be very nice.
Oh, and please do not email about getting onto the podcast. We'll contact you.
Yes, exactly.
There's no, don't worry, there's no like criteria, like I think we said it earlier, you don't have to be like really new to get on the podcast, and you don't have to be super like professional to get on the podcast. We'll select people, and I don't want to say that we think are worth interviewing, because that sounds really arrogant. Everybody's worth interviewing, but unfortunately we do one podcast a week.
Yeah.
If all goes well.
Yes. That's what we're hoping for anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is The Booth with Jon and Wes. This will be a weekly podcast. I don't know how long we've been running for, but I think it's been a good length.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, for our podcast length, we're aiming for maybe like 30 minutes to an hour at max. Hopefully not going too far above that.
Yeah, we don't want this to be too long. We don't want to bore you guys.
Yeah. That's not what we're aiming for. We're aiming to entertain you guys, because we're entertainers.
Yes, we are.
And hopefully all our guests will be super cool with it too.
Yes, it'll be fun.
Yeah, I hope so. So our next podcast might be a little late, just because next Sunday is the last day of Anime Expo, I think, which I will be attending, and I will be competing in Anime Expo Idol.
Oh yes.
So maybe we'll do a little bit of coverage of that when I get back, while talking to our guests as well. Maybe even I don't know. Maybe we'll get somebody who also competed. Who knows?
Yeah.
That'll depend. But this is technically episode 0, so we'll make sure for our first official episode we'll give the guests a very warm welcome, and it'll be a surprise for now.
Yes. Yeah, we don't want to spoil anything.
No. But hopefully, every week you'll get a new person, a new interview. You'll learn a little bit about them, a little about us. Meet some people through us to maybe work with for yourself. If you're a director out there or a producer who needs a voice for your project, and you hear the person on our podcast, and you think that's someone you want to work with, we'll have their contact info, I guess, in the description, and wherever we upload this, so you can contact them to be able to work with them. We want to give voice actors, old and new, some exposure.
Yes, that's why we're here.
Yes, maybe even like bring the voice acting community a little closer together.
Hopefully.
Not that we're like, the end all be all podcast. We're just two guys.
Just talking in front of microphones.
Yes. But I think we've been running for a really good amount of time now. So, I guess for closing statements, thanks for listening, everyone.
Yes, we very much appreciate your views.
Yes, please leave comments. And if this is well received, we'll keep it up. We're definitely gonna do, we're gonna do a few more podcasts. And if you guys like what we do, please support us by, liking the video, or as soon as this gets on iTunes, subscribing to this podcast on iTunes. And yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully everyone will learn something with each podcast.
Yeah. I think that's it. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yep, thank you.